Welcome back to the garage, gang. And if you're new here, buckle up because this is Token Teardown, Dyno-Test certified. This is where we roll your favorite crypto projects into the bay, jack them up on the lift, and find out if we've got a certified race car under the hood, or just a backyard build with a pretty wrap and a TikTok attitude. And today, oh boy, we've got a wild one. We're talking Celestia, ticker TIA, a blockchain that swears it can split the engine from the chassis and still smoke everyone on the track. They call it modular, we call it the Dodge Viper of crypto. All engine, no training wheels, and a tendency to bite if you don't know how to handle it. Before we drop the clutch and meet the crew that built this beast, quick shout out to Triple X, the guy in the pit doing the heavy lifting, scraping through charts, on-chain data, and every dusty white paper so this teardown actually rips. He's the reason we can call these projects what they are. No fluff, just facts. And yes, we're definitely going to talk price predictions because I know that's everybody's favorite lane. But first, we see what this thing's made of, who built it, and if it earns a spot in your bag, or ends up as another lap around the junkyard. So grab your gloves and clear the lift, because today we're tearing down one of the loudest builds in the modular world, Celestia, ticker TIA. The Dodge Viper of Layer 1 crypto projects. These say it's rewriting the rules of blockchain design, separating the engine from the chassis, and changing how every project hits the road. We're about to find out if that's true, or if it's just another shiny wrap on a Civic motor. Let's lift it, look under the hood, and get to work. Every serious machine needs a crew, and Celestia's team, they're not your cousin's weekend wrench turners. This is Web3's SRT division, street and racing technology for blockchains. They build for torque, precision, and zero compromise. The same way Dodge's SRT engineers scared Ferrari half to death. This crew makes half the crypto space look like a bunch of YouTubers with socket sets and dreams. These folks don't talk speed, they build it. Mustafa Al-Bassam, the hacker engineer. Before he was writing PhD papers, he was writing exploits. Back in his teens, he was part of LulzSec, the hacker collective that took down the CIA, Sony, and the UK police websites just to prove they could. He was the kid who broke the internet for fun, not for money, just for the thrill of it. Then he flicked the script. Instead of tearing systems down, he started building ones too solid to break. He cleaned up, earned his doctorate at University College London, co-founded Chainspace, which Facebook bought outright, and then came back to build a blockchain so secure, even his younger self couldn't crack it. He's the lead SRT mechanic, the architect of Celestia's modular engine. When he says something's unhackable, it's not marketing, it's muscle memory. John Adler, the roll-up architect. He's the performance tuner. Adler invented optimistic rollups, the turbochargers of blockchain, and co-wrote the lazy ledger paper that became Celestia's blueprint. While other devs debate theory, Adler's already redlining at 9,000 RPM, tuning code for real-world performance. He doesn't talk airflow, he measures it, dynos it, and then breaks the record. Ismail Coffey, the consensus mechanic, ex-Tendermint engineer, Cosmos veteran, and the guy who designed the crankshaft every other chain runs on. He's the one who can hear a misfire in the network just by reading the logs. His consensus system keeps every cylinder firing clean, delivering 6-second blocks with zero lag. He's the quiet one in the garage, the kind of engineer who doesn't tweet, he just fixes it. Nick White, the race strategist, former Harmony One co-founder, now the crew chief on Celestia's pit wall. He's seen what happens when a chain overheats and loses traction. Now he calls the race, watching the gauges, balancing speed with control. He's the voice on comms saying, "Copy that. Full send." And behind that lineup, $150 million in high-octane fuel from Polychain, Bain Crypto, Coinbase Ventures, Jump, Delphi, and Galaxy Digital. That's not sponsorship. That's a factory-backed supercar budget. Even their advisors are SRT caliber. Morgan Beller, co-creator of Facebook's Libra, Zaki Manian, and Ethan Buckman, the original Cosmos engineers. The folks who built the racetrack helping tune the car. So when people call Celestia the Dodge Viper of Layer 1 crypto, they're not exaggerating. It's loud, it's brutal, and it's built by an SRT crew that makes the rest of the field look like a bunch of guys still arguing about spark plugs. All right, the crew's in place, the motor's warm, and it's time to pop the hood. Let's talk about the build. See, most blockchains are trying to be everything at once. They're like those overcomplicated supercars that want to be race cars, daily drivers, and RVs all at the same time. Heavy, slow, and expensive. They handle execution, consensus, and data all under one roof. And it's like revving a dump truck and wondering why you're not winning races. Celestia looked at that mess and said, forget it. Strip it down. Build smart. They went full SRT. took the weight off, rewired the frame, and built something lean and lethal. Instead of doing everything, Celestia focuses on what it's best at: ordering transactions and making sure the data is available to everyone else. That's it. No unnecessary gadgets, no vanity parts, just raw, specialized power. Here's how that looks under the hood. Celestia is what we call a modular blockchain. That means it handles the hard parts, the consensus, and the data availability, while other blockchains, called rollups, handle execution. Think of it like this: Celestia builds the racetrack and keeps it clean, and every other project gets to build its own custom race car to run on top of it. Instead of everyone spending years building new tracks, Celestia gives them the asphalt and the timing system right out of the box. That's why people call it blockchain as a service. You bring the car, Celestia brings the road. And the secret weapon making that possible is something called data availability sampling, DAS for short. It sounds complicated, but it's actually genius in its simplicity. Instead of one computer downloading an entire block of transactions, Celestia lets thousands of little light nodes each check random chunks. If every sample checks out, the whole block is verified. That's how Celestia can move massive amounts of data without needing massive hardware. It's like having 10,000 mechanics each check one bolt on your car. If all the bolts are tight, you know the whole car is solid. That's why Celestia can scale without sacrificing security. The more people checking it, the stronger it gets. While traditional blockchains slow down as they grow, Celestia gets faster and tougher. It's the first blockchain that handles scale like a muscle car. More pressure just means more grip. Right now, mainnet's cruising at about 0.3 megabytes per second, which is already solid, and their mammoth testnet clocked an insane 27 megabytes per second. That's like strapping a jet turbine to your Viper. The long-term goal? 1 gigabyte POX. That's not faster blockchain. That's broadband, a full fiber optic connection for crypto data. And why do we need that kind of speed? Because the next generation of crypto isn't just coins. It's gaming chains, DeFi apps, AI layers, and social networks, all moving real data all at once. They need a base layer that won't crumble under the weight. Celestia is that base layer. It's the neutral asphalt, the track every other project can race on. While the old school chains are still fighting over who's the fastest single car, Celestia is paving the whole highway. It's not competition, it's infrastructure. They're not trying to win the race, they're building the racetrack everyone else needs to drive on. All right, the engine's tuned, the build's tight. Now let's talk about what really fuels this thing, the token. Now I know a lot of people hear tokenomics and their eyes glaze over. Don't worry, it just means how the money moves under the hood. Who puts gas in, who burns it, and how fast it circulates. That's it. Every blockchain's got its own fuel system. Some are clean and efficient, some are leaky, and some explode on launch. For Celestia, that fuel's called TIA. Think of TIA like race gas. High octane, expensive, and absolutely essential. Every time someone builds on Celestia, those rollups, app chains, or custom blockchains, they pay their fees in TIA. That's their toll for using the track. So the more builders there are, the more TIA gets burned, keeping the race alive. Now who gets that gas money? The validators. They're the pit crew, the ones keeping the car on the road. They lock up or stake TIA as a kind of security deposit that says, I'm here to keep this honest. Do their job right, they earn rewards in new TIA. Mess it up, they lose their stake. That's how Celestia keeps everybody in line without a boss or a middleman. If you're brand new, here's the easy version. Developers build apps and pay fees in TIA. Validators run the network and earn TIA for securing it. Regular holders can stake their TIA, help secure the chain, and earn a little yield. And every holder gets a vote when upgrades roll out. It's like a racetrack owned by its drivers, mechanics, and fans. Everyone's got skin in the game. Now let's talk about the blend, how much new fuel gets added each year. Celestia runs what's called inflation. That just means new TIA gets created to pay the validators. It started around 8%, dropped to about 5%, and it'll slowly wind down to roughly 1.5%. That's just enough to keep the pistons oiled without flooding the engine. Here's the part a lot of people miss. When Celestia launched, a big chunk of tokens went to early investors and the core team. Those unlock over time, kind of like a slow fuel leak from the reserve tank. As those tokens hit the market, it puts pressure on the price. That's why TIA dropped after launch. It wasn't because the car was broken. It's just a lot of new gas showing up all at once. But that's the thing. If more projects start building on Celestia, more rollups, more traffic, that new demand can balance out the new supply. More cars on the track, more tolls, more fuel getting burned. That's how an economy finds its rhythm. So when you hear tokenomics, don't overthink it. It's just the money flow. Who earns, who spends, who drives, and who gets left walking. And for Celestia, that flow's actually built with purpose. It's balanced, transparent, and designed to last. This thing isn't just idling, it's built to drive on. Now that we know what's in the tank, let's talk about where this thing's headed, the roadmap, and who's already putting miles on it. A lot of projects talk about building, but Celestia is one of the few that's actually out on the track. Mainnet went live back in late 2023, and they haven't lifted off the throttle since. The first big toot-up was the Ginger upgrade. They cut block times in half, 12 seconds, down to 6. That's like swapping out a 5-speed for a dual-clutch transmission. Faster shifts, smoother power, better response. They also adjusted the inflation curve and prepped the engine for bigger blocks. Pure performance tuning. Next up is what they call the Mammoth upgrade, and the name fits. They're testing 1 gigabyte blocks. That's 1,000 megabytes of data moving every few seconds. We're talking broadband level throughput, not dial-up. It's the difference between a backroad cruiser and a full-blown super speedway. On the developer side, they're rolling out things like compact blocks and better plug-and-play tools, so anyone can launch a roll-up on Celestia without tearing their hair out. Less wrenching, more racing. But what really matters is who's actually using it. And right now, the garage doors are open and the track's starting to fill. There are already more than 30 live rollups and app chains running on Celestia's data layer. Names like Manta Pacific, a privacy-focused chain posting its encrypted data through Celestia. Avo and Lyra, both derivatives platforms using it for their trading records. Zora, hosting NFT data. Mode Network, powering social trading apps. Dimension, building an entire ecosystem of roll apps. Even the team behind Blur NFT is building Towns, a decentralized chat app on top of it. So yeah, it's not just sitting in a showroom. Real projects are out there burning laps, testing the traction, and proving the modular model works. And here's the thing, most of these users aren't retail traders. They're developers, the builders who lay the groundwork before the mainstream crowd shows up. That's why this roadmap matters. Celestia isn't chasing short-term hype. It's laying down infrastructure that everyone else will need later. They're widening the highway, while the rest of crypto's still arguing over lane markings. So as we roll into the next phase, you can see it. The upgrades are live. Adoption's picking up, and the network's still holding strong under load. This thing's not a prototype anymore. It's a full-blown modular racetrack, and the pit lane's starting to crowd. Yeah, the pit lane's starting to crowd. But you know what really makes or breaks a build? It's not just horsepower. It's community. You can have the best machine in the world, but if nobody wants to drive it, it's just a shiny paperweight. Celestia's community is a mix of two breeds. You've got the coders and researchers, the ones who live on GitHub, running testnets and quoting data like it's gospel. Then you've got the regular builders and traders, the folks who just like the idea of something faster, cleaner, and modular. It's not a meme coin circus over there. It's more like a professional pit crew. Less noise, more know-how. Their Discord's packed with developers, helping each other troubleshoot and drop new projects. Twitter, over 300,000 followers, and most of them showed up before marketing even started. It's not a hype army yelling, "When moon?" It's engineers comparing notes, investors asking smart questions, and fans just trying to understand how it all works. And honestly, that's refreshing. Now, it hasn't all been smooth pavement. When this thing launched, the hype was massive. We're talking next Ethereum headlines, airdrops, and huge VC backing. Then came the unlocks, early investor tokens hitting the market like a floodgate opening. Price dropped over 90%. That hurt. Retail holders were mad. Twitter was brutal. And suddenly everyone was throwing around the words VC dump. The team could have gone quiet, but they didn't. Mustafa himself jumped on social and said, "We're still here, still funded, still building." They've got over $100 million left in the tank. No hacks, no downtime, no rut pulls. Just a rough patch in market sentiment, a spin out, not a crash. And that's the thing. The tech never stopped working. Blocks kept rolling. Upgrades shipped on time. They ran audits, bug bounties, everything. No security breaches, no validator drama, no exploits. The only real issue has been price pressure and growing pains, the kind of stuff you expect from a big new engine breaking in. Sure, the critics say it's still early, and they're right. Celestia built a 4-lane highway, and right now, only a few dozen cars are on it. But that's temporary. Every major innovation starts out looking empty until the crowd shows up. The community knows that. They're patient, steady, and they understand this isn't about next week's candles. It's about next decade's infrastructure. It's not the loudest group in crypto, but it's one of the sharpest. They've weathered the sell-offs, they've seen the noise, and they're still here, still coding, still staking, still believing in the modular mission. So yeah, Celestia hit a few bumps, but the wheels never came off. The drivers kept their helmets on, the pit crew stayed in the garage, and the car's still running clean. Now, before we roll it onto the dyno, we need to talk about one more thing that's been shaping the price: token unlocks. See, when Celestia launched, most of the supply was still locked up with early investors, the team, and the foundation. For the first year, that meant a tight float, only a small chunk of tokens trading on the market. But after that 1 year mark, the big cliffs hit. In late 2024, roughly a third of all investor and team tokens unlocked at once. That's what sent TIA from $20 down to almost a buck in a matter of months. Then after that, the flood turned into a slow drip. Right now, new tokens unlock every single day. Not enough to flood the market, but enough to keep steady pressure on the price. Those daily unlocks will keep running through 2027, when the last of the core team and investor allocations finally vest. That's the leak in the fuel line investors have to factor in. It doesn't mean the car's bad. It just means the pressure isn't going to build as fast until that extra fuel stops spilling onto the market. The upside? The big cliffs are already behind us. The worst of the dilution's over. From here, it's a gradual slope, not a drop-off. And despite the price pain, the team's still well-funded. They've got over $100 million in the treasury and a few more years of runway to keep building full throttle. So yeah, TIA still idling around the $1 and change range with a market cap hovering near $1 billion. But that's the reality of a car in its break-in phase. The big investors are still unlocking, the builders are still coding, and the network's still running clean. Now that we've got the leaks accounted for, it's time to see what kind of torque this engine actually puts down. All right, Luyu, fire up the dyno. Let's talk everyone's favorite part, price predictions. All right, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, the money scene. We've talked about the build, the brains, the grease, and the gears that make Celestia run. But now it's time to talk numbers, because let's be honest, that's what everyone wants to know. What's this thing worth, and where could it really go? So grab your helmet, because we're rolling onto the dyno, wide open throttle, all gas, no brakes. Let's see what kind of horsepower this thing really makes when we start talking money. Picture the total crypto market one day hitting $20 trillion, the next big bull run, every engine redlining. Now, there are three ways this race can go. In the first scenario, the steady run, everything grows together. Celestia holds its share of the market, doesn't steal the spotlight, but doesn't fade either. That puts it around a $5 billion market cap and a token price between $4 and $6. Not wild, just solid torque. The kind of car you can daily without worrying about a blowup. Scenario 2, traction. This is where Modular starts catching on for real. More rollups, more builders, more projects plugging into Celestia, because it's faster and cheaper than building from scratch. Market cap jumps into the 12 to 15 billion range, and the token somewhere near 10 to 12 bucks. That's when people start noticing. The car's not just running, it's leading laps. And then there's scenario 3, full adoption, the moonshot. In this world, modular blockchains don't just win, they dominate. Every major game, every DeFi app, every AI platform and social network runs on its own rollup, all posting data through Celestia. Ethereum becomes the courthouse. Bitcoin stays the vault, but Celestia becomes the infrastructure, the asphalt under everything. TIA isn't just a token anymore, it's digital oil. Now we're talking a $50 billion market cap and a $50 token. That's the dream scenario, the Viper at full throttle, shaking the walls. But here in the barrage, we don't just show one side of the coin, because this is real life, and we all know one thing: stuff happens. So let's talk about the Black Swan, the nightmare lap. Regulators crush staking rewards. A new data system leapfrogs modular architecture overnight, or a major exploit somewhere else kills investor confidence across the whole sector. In that case, TIA doesn't dip, it dives. Pennies on the dollar, not because the tech failed, but because the whole track went dark at once. That's the torque curve. Cruise control puts TIA around 4 to 6 bucks. Traction brings 10 to 12. Full adoption, the moonshot takes it north of 50. And the Black Swan, that's the one you plan for, but pray you never see. Now, before anyone goes refinancing the house and aping in, full disclosure, none of this is financial advice. We're here to analyze, not evangelize. And since we're talking numbers, let's give credit to the head of technical analysis here in the garage, Lulu. She's a pig. 4 hooves, 1 tail, and a better nose for charts than most traders online. When the candles start cracking, she's the first one squealing. So yeah, if Lulu's grunting, you might want to check your stop losses. All right, let's give Celestia its garage score. Technology gets a 9 out of 10. Advanced, proven, and running clean. Team, 9 out of 10. The hacker, the architect, the mechanic, and the strategist. That's an SRT level crew. Tokenomics, 6 out of 10. Well designed, but those unlocks are still the weight in the trunk. Traction, 7 out of 10. The highway's built, but it's still early in the race. Timing, 7 out of 10. Launched early, but early might turn out perfect once Modular goes mainstream. That averages out to a garage score of 7.6 out of 10. Tuned up, worth watching, and officially garage certified. Lulu gave 2 grunts and a tail wag. Pig speak for bullish but cautious, and that feels about right. Celestia's loud, it's fast, and it's built by engineers who actually know what they're doing. If modular blockchains really are the future, this is the one laying down the pavement. That's the Teardown, gang, so make sure you smash the like, share it, and if you've got a project you want on the lift, drop it in the comments. We read them all. Oh yeah, and make sure you check out the website, gurucryptogarage.guru. It's free, and we post market insights there every single day. And remember, here in the garage, we don't sell hype, we test horsepower. So as always, let it rip.